my name is Shannon, and I'm a systems engineer on the Google Partner Engineering team. Today, I'll be walking you through the codelab on how to build a mobile app using Home APIs on Android. This is the first video of a two-part video series for building with the Google Home APIs on Android. The Home APIs unlock exciting new capabilities for Google Home developers. As a whole, these APIs will allow you to build richer and more integrated smart home experiences. It's also important to remember that Cloud-to-Cloud and Matter remain central to connecting devices with the Google Home platform, and these new APIs build upon that foundation. Through these videos, you'll learn how to build an Android app using the Google Home APIs, how to use the Device Instructor APIs to obtain and control devices in the user's smart home, how to use the Commissioning APIs to add Matter devices to the Google Home ecosystem, and finally, how to use the Automation APIs to create, delete, and query a smart home automation. In this video, we'll be covering the first 3 points, and automations will be covered more in depth in a future video. Scan the QR code on screen now to follow along with the corresponding codelab on our Developer Center. At the end of this codelab, you'll have a working Android app where users can access and control their smart home. If you're interested in building your own smart home app on iOS, stay tuned for the next video. To get started, ensure that you have the following: the latest version of Android Studio installed, an Android phone with Google Play services and the Google Home app, a compatible Google Home Hub for Matter devices, and a compatible smart home device, like a light or an outlet. If you don't have your own smart home devices, we have virtual devices that you can use: Google Home Playground for cloud devices and Matter Virtual Device for Matter devices. Refer to the QR code on the screen that links to the Developer Center. You'll find instructions on how to set up your virtual device and how to link your device to the Google Home app. Lastly, make sure to check the Developer Center for the latest version requirements. Now let's go ahead and set up your project. To obtain the Home APIs SDK, refer to the QR code on the screen, which will guide you through the instructions on our Developer Center. Next, we'll clone the sample app source code from GitHub. Using Android Studio, let's open up the source code. Throughout this codelab, you'll find to-do blocks in the comments. These mark the sections where you will add code to implement the required functionality. First, let's connect our physical Android phone and we can run the sample app. Note that we recommend using a physical Android phone instead of an emulator, since the Home APIs rely on Google Play services running on a real phone. If you're having trouble connecting your physical phone to Android Studio, remember to enable USB debugging in Developer Options. Now that we have our environment, we need to set up authentication. The Home APIs use OAuth 2.0 to grant access. OAuth allows a user to grant permission to an app or a service without having to expose their login credentials. Let's start in our Google Cloud Console and either create a new project or select the desired project to create OAuth credentials. Next, proceed to the APIs and Services page and click on Credentials in the navigation menu. If you haven't configured your consent screen for this project yet, a Configure Consent Screen button will appear. In this case, click it to display the OAuth consent screen page. Here, choose either internal or external based on your use case, and then click Create. You will need to add test users to use the app. Finally, click Save and Continue to finish. For more comprehensive details, scan the QR code to be redirected to the instructions on the Developer Center. Lastly, we need to register the sample app for OAuth 2.0. During this process, ensure that you indicate the application type as an Android app. Scan the QR code on the screen and you'll be redirected to the Setting Up OAuth 2.0 detailed instructions. Now, in order to initialize the SDK and handle user permissions, let's look at the Permissions API. First, you'll need to define which device types and traits your app will support. We do this by defining static lists in the Home App Kotlin file, which then can be referenced throughout the app. In the to-do blocks 4.1.1 and 4.1.2 in the Home App Kotlin file, let's add the device types and traits we'll support. Note that unregistered device types and traits will be unsupported. For the full documentation on supported device types and the trait index on Android, refer to the QR code on the screen. In this file, the home client object, which is our main interface to interact with the APIs, is also initialized. The factory registry uses the supported types and traits we defined earlier, and using this registry, the home config is initialized. The home config contains the configuration needed to run the APIs. From there, the get client call receives the home client from the SDK. Next, let's use the permissions API to authenticate users. Opening up the Permissions Manager Kotlin file, the check permissions and request permissions functions enable the permissions for the sample app. Let's implement the to-do block 4.3.1 to enable the code that requests the permissions and records the results. Now that we have Permissions API set up, let's run the app again and you'll see the updated flow. Note that the loading message hasn't gone away yet. This is because we haven't implemented the code that reads the structure and devices. We'll do that in the next section. With our Permissions API set up, let's explore the device and structure APIs. In the home APIs, the data model is composed of structures, rooms, devices, their respective device types and traits, and automations. Structures represent a home and contain rooms, which then contain devices. Devices are composed of device types, and device types are then composed of traits, which further are composed of attributes for reading/writing, commands for controlling attributes, and events for reading or subscribing to past changes. Note that devices could be assigned to a structure or a room. Lastly, automations, which are part of a structure, use metadata to automate tasks in the home. In this section, you'll learn how to develop with the Structure API to parse and render a user's home. Now that we've walked through the data model, let's take some time to walk through the corresponding code. The Home API's design is based on Kotlin flows to stream out the data model objects. To get all the objects in the home, subscribe to a flow. Let's call the structures function, which will return a flow of structures. Then we'll call the list function on the flow to get all the structures that the user owns. Let's open the Home App View Model Kotlin file and locate to-do 5.1.1. Implement the code to subscribe to the structure changes by calling the collect function. Traverse the structure set returned by the Structure API's response and store the view models. If a structure isn't selected yet, select the first structure from the list. This allows the app to monitor structure state changes. In the Devices View Kotlin file, the app subscribes to the Structure View Model state flow, which triggers UI recomposition when the structure data changes. Implement to-do 5.1.2 to render the structure list as a drop-down menu. Now, when we run the app again, you'll see the menu with your home structures. If you cannot select the structure, check if you added your account into the allow list in the Cloud project. And one thing to keep in mind about structures. A structure can contain devices that aren't assigned to a room, so be sure to capture the devices without rooms in your app as well. The next step is to traverse the home objects in the structure. Open the Structure View Model Kotlin file and implement to-do blocks 5.2.1 and 5.2.2. Here, we subscribe to a flow to get the latest room and device list. Continue to to-do blocks 5.2.3 and 5.2.4 in the Devices View Kotlin file, where we will render our room list as a menu. With our room set up, we're going to continue along our data model and look at devices. To retrieve device types and traits from the home device, subscribe to the device type flow. Each device contains a set of supported device types, each containing traits that define its capabilities. Every device marks one of its types as the primary type that should be represented in your app. To provide a complete experience to users, we recommend traversing all return types and integrating all traits available to you. Let's try it out. Open the Device View Model Kotlin file and implement to-do blocks 6.1.1 and 6.1.2 to retrieve the device states. 6.1.1 determines the primary types for a device, and 6.1.2 gets a list of supported traits for this device. Next, move to the Device View file and to-do block 6.1.3 to render an on-off trait. Note that today we're only showing how to render and control the on-off trait. Other trait examples have been included in the same file for your reference. Now, coming back to our app, we'll see the up-to-date device state for our supported device types. In order to issue commands to these devices, our home APIs provide convenience functions on traits objects, such as trait on or trait move to level. Going back to Android Studio, let's implement to-do 6.2.1 to add function controls to our app. By the way, one useful tip as you develop. Once you know the type of the trait, take advantage of the IDE's autocomplete feature to see what kind of actions are available for interacting with the trait. Running our app again, we can see that our devices are being controlled by our app. For Matter devices specifically, the commissioning API lets you add devices to the Google Home ecosystem, making these Matter devices available to control using Home APIs. Before we begin, note that this section requires a Matter device and a compatible Google Hub that supports Matter. If you're using Matter Virtual Device, offered on our Developer Center, instead of a physical Matter device, you'll also need a developer project on the Google Home Developer Console. For more details on this process, please follow the instructions at the QR code displayed on the screen now. Once you have your Matter environment set up, we're ready to use the commissioning APIs. We will set up two variables specific to our commissioning API. One variable is the activity result launcher, which is used to send the commissioning intent and to manage the result callback. The other variable is the commissioning result, used to store the commissioning result. Next, we'll build our commissioning intent and launch it. We recommend placing the intent and the launcher in a dedicated function. A dedicated function can be tied to a UI element, such as an Add Device button, and invoked based on the user request. Lastly, open the Commissioning Manager Kotlin file and implement to-do 7.1.1 to enable commissioning. Running the app again, we'll see that the Add Device button now starts our commissioning flow. First, users are greeted with a QR code scanner that they can use to scan the QR codes from Matter devices. The flow then goes through displaying the user agreement, device discovery and commissioning, and naming the device. Once the flow is complete, control is given back to the app, and the commissioning result is passed back to the callback function. And with that, you've successfully built an Android app using the Google Home APIs. Congratulations! In this video, we've covered how to build a mobile app using Home APIs on Android, including how to use the permission APIs, the device and structure APIs, and the commissioning APIs. To learn how to make advanced automations in your Android app, stay tuned for the upcoming video. In the meantime, get creative, and we can't wait to see what innovations you build with the Home APIs.